Raskin. You're tuned into what's on my mind. I wonder if you were able to sleep last night. Not that you overdrank or had too much coffee or what have you, but sometimes it's hard to get an obsessive thing out of your head when all you're hit by broadcasters are the presidential address and interpreted over and over and over again. Uh, Look at what can I say, folks? I've got to refer to it. And next week, by the way, I'm going to discuss what I feel are some insights I have. I don't have the answers to everything, but the future of this country. And I love this country. I'm very proud to be an American. I am not proud of what's going on in politics these days, but then unfortunately, most of these politicians were not on the Titanic. I can't have my wishes at all times. Truth of the matter is, though, that we heard the president speak, and he spoke rather well, rather clearly this time. I was quite surprised. I thought it was because maybe I had taken a tranquilizer, but then I realized that 4 tranquilizers would not have calmed me down. But I thought he did speak rather well, and he talked about health care and the living conditions and what have you. It was really nothing new. It was well practiced over and over again, I'm sure. Reflections on what they decided are the pieces he needs to give out. The concern we have in the future of our intake of food and the cost of education, which was going to reach a point of being for free. And the way education is now taking place, especially with our history in grade schools, maybe that's all it's going to be worth. Nothing but free education. We're going to be discussing financial problems. He hinted at them. Gas already has increased, as we now know, and there is a great enthusiasm, and the President Biden encouraged us, and I'm sure he was somehow sincere, that we might consider in a year or 2 or 3 of buying a $55,000 non-gasoline car. That's going to be quite an adjustment in life. Biden hinted at massive tax increases, but he dramatized them by talking about not $1 million, but $1 trillion, on, and we won't have to pay for it. No. Of course we won't have to pay for it. If enough of us became familiar with bank holdups and what have you, we could probably steal the money in other ways than our government is going to steal it. Then we have the situation now, which he really did not address. He really avoided it very, very effectively, and he did it in passing. He talked about what is on the minds of most of us more than almost anything else, and that is the illegal aliens and the problems that are created. I mean, you have people dying, you have children that are dying, you have stress, you have our people guarding our boundaries that are concerned that they can't do it. And the blame for this, the total blame for this, is the President of the United States, who, with his cohorts and followers, advocated this tremendously drastic breakdown of securing our country. Creating now what we're going to have, obviously, is greater crime than ever before. I mean, look at the vast amount of people that are leaving law enforcement. My brother was a policeman 20-some years after 20 years being in the Marines, and I've worked on almost 86 crime cases. I'm very familiar. I have tremendous respect for law enforcement. And for us to attack police endlessly, almost as an excuse for the rights of black or green or blue people or what have you, it's becoming a very, very convenient excuse. This systematic racism, by the way, does not exist. There is no such thing as systematic racism. It's something we have created on our using more and more for one reason, as I will discuss in some length next week. It is the gaining of power, because that's what our leaders are searching for. They're not really looking for more money. They're not looking for another house. I mean, they've got homes that are plush, what have you. It is this feeling of power. And the very wealthy, that small percentage of wealthy in our culture, are also systematically benefiting from it, because if there's one thing you have to be careful of when there is great wealth in history, and we've had some great leaders that were very wealthy, but we also had some leaders that built up organized crime. And if you doubt me on that, you need to discuss the period of the 30s and 40s, and a new movie and a new book that's coming out on organized crime, which will read like a horror story of power. Yes, we're going to see that growing. The 5-week hint of a vacation over a period of 1 year, I think it might be something worthwhile for politicians, what have you, providing the 5-week were spread over a 23-year period. I'm not sure it would work in such a short amount of time. But I'm concerned about the police leaving. We need them. And now the sale of guns, of course, has increased incredibly, but not everybody is competent enough to handle a gun. And it's be able to turn towards police and have them come when you're in trouble. Small towns are going to see more and more. Who would have ever thought that last Saturday, in one night in New York City, that how many people were shot? Hundreds were shot in one night, not all dead, but shot. This is getting seriously out of control. The police, we need them. Our government, we're told by the president, is going to become larger and larger and larger. And I'm not sure that's what we were looking for when we built this country. The government is supposed to be of the people and by the people. And the leaders of the government are supposed to be reflecting, not controlling. And oh, by the way, wasn't yesterday a fascinating experience to see those that attended the hearings, the annual hearing, and led by the president? Do you realize, folks, and it was almost impossible to believe, and up until 2 a.m, I heard news commentators mentioning this, that there were only about 200 people. Where were our Republican representatives, let alone all the representatives that are supposed to be there when a State of the Union and conditions are being set? No matter how you feel one way or the other, has the bitterness, the prejudice, and the bigotry been so great that we can't even communicate or carry on the respect that's part of what the United States government is? Because one word, and I will talk about this more at greater length in the near future, one word, God forbid it ever leaves the title of this country. This is the United States of America. And we're beginning to destroy the meaning of the word united. People are not communicating. Individuals are screaming at each other, taking on prejudice, walking away, and look at the way the government behavior is taking place. I'm not excusing the President Biden, because I think, if anything, the greatest excuse he has is senility. And I believe he has tremendous signs of senility. But at the same time, we need to move on. And the millions of dollars that our government is now promising to take care of everything, education for free, this for free, vacations for free, and so forth, that isn't really what my grandparents from Sicily, from Italy, from Poland, and the scores of people I know whose families came from other countries, they didn't expect to come to this country and have everything on a silver platter handed them, providing they claimed or prayed and played the game properly. They came to earn the right and the pleasure and the dignity of being part of the United States. And that's what the United States stands for. I'm going to end this right here. I had to stop. Oh, by the way, are you listening? Isn't it fascinating that we now have all over the place medical authorities that say, don't wear masks. You definitely don't wear masks outside. It's not meant to be. You need to breathe fresh air. Look at the number of cases now of teenagers, of high school and grade school students that have collapsed because they were wearing double masks when they were running and doing extremely energetic sports where they needed to breathe fresh air. I have hardly ever worn masks outdoors. And the idea that we should continue doing something like this makes absolutely no sense on the face of the earth. One more thing. Since we don't need masks anymore, I smelled something that didn't smell right when I watched last night's hearings. They were wearing masks all over the place. Why were they wearing masks? Oh, one more thing that you don't know about. I'm waiting for it to be made public. When people came in to the hearings last night, they were handed masks made in China. This is to be continued.